Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Hollywood Jahid, and this is a small, brief vlog about my research that I have discovered over the past 17 years. Over the last 17 years, I have been conducting research on the Islamic education system. And by now, I have a very concrete, brief idea about the system and how it should be working as. This task was basically given to me by a friend of mine, Brother Abin Ishaq, who requested me that Ali Mujahid, we need an education system which is Islamically oriented. And I bluntly said that we already have a system. We have the madrasas in Darul Uloom, and we have these numerous madrasas, and then we have the Islamic education schools, Islamic schools that are prevailing all over the Western world and as well as in the Islamic world. I mean, Western. So even then, Abid said that, see if we can improve it. So I started my research looking for, or we should be looking for an Islamic curriculum. And I realized at that time was that a lot of research was done in the field of education and curriculum. And as I went more depth, I realized that there's nothing much we can do. I mean, it's already laid down. But the thing that disturbed me a lot was that Islamic education system, this Islamic institution, they're not producing the right results. We're not producing the right type of the Muslims, the ideal Muslims, as we can see. Or at least trying to produce a royal, self-righteous Muslim, like we can all think of. So I went back and I came to realize that instead of going deep into my research, I went lateral. I did my research back about Islamic education system. We're talking about a system that is a sub-function of an Islamic society. So I took Islamic education system and I went lateral with this research. And I looked at this research when I went lateral from an educational perspective. Like, for example, I studied history, both Islamic, First World War, Second World War, and I studied these ulum from an educationist Islamic perspective. And there's a very big difference. In order to study history, we have to look at different opinions. It's a very biased, yet history itself is a very biased subject because it depends on how you look at things. But again, I looked at it from the Islamic perspective as well as an educationist perspective. So I studied history, I studied political science, I studied religion, world religion in general. I studied organizational development and change. I studied psychology, I studied sociology, I studied economics, I studied the concept of leadership, team working, all from an Islamic perspective as well as an educationist perspective. And this was my main finding. And this journey that I'm going to share with you is my journey, that how I came up with the conclusion. What conclusion did I came up by? And one of my findings, that will be at the very end of this series of vlogs, because giving you it right now won't be fair. You have to understand the whole scenario. You have to understand the whole situation, that who is it, and how we can improve it, and how this education model, the current education model, how we can uplift it, how can we can overhaul it. So, a little bit of tidbit, like for example, when you go to an educational institution, you say, where is the Islamic curriculum? Actually, we already have an Islamic curriculum. I mean, this is one of my research. We don't need a new curriculum. The Quran is a curriculum. The Hadith of our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is a curriculum. All we need to do is to find out the learning outcomes. We need to design the learning outcome and then translate it into action. And this is one of the downfall of the madrasa system. I'm not criticizing the madrasa system. It's actually a very robust system. It's survived so many years. But not critiquing it, but these madrasa systems, they were developed when the society was predominantly Islamic. So the child was sent to these madrasas to to get that theoretical framework of the Islamic system. And that made a lot of sense. Now, the time that we are living in, and here's the downfall, we are living in a predominantly capitalist, secular society. We have a different set of values, and we could discuss that also. And right now, if a child sets into a madrasa, it cannot function in a secular capitalist society. The solution was Islamic schools, and they tried to merge it, but it's not happening. It will never happen. Of course, not supposed to happen. So this is my first vlog about it, and I'm going to continue this journey. I want to share what I went through and how I experienced how I found out about different things. And I summed it up at this small course, this vlog, so that could be a sense Satyatarya. My objective here is that for the last 17 years, I've been conducting research on the education system. And I believe in the next 17 years, I'll be trying to implement this education system. So the objective is very clear. First of all, the objective is me, the Satyatarya. I would like to share my concept of education in my research before I die. And secondly, one of my teachers once said, his name was Sheikh Abdul Jalil in States. He said something very interesting. He said that if you see something that the others cannot see, so it is your duty to inform the others. So this is my way of informing my brothers and sisters who are in the field of education, who are in the field of dawah, who are in the field of parenting and raising children, and how to understand the education system and how it should be working it. So that is my objectives of the education system. That's my prelude or why I'm doing this. My study actually officially started for 17 years, but what was my big question? What will it be? Was something different scenario. I would like to take you down memory lane when I was in high school and how, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses a path that you have to walk on. And how he chooses that he leaves breadcrumbs. He leaves points that triggers your mind. And when I was in high school, second year of high school, senior in high school, I was sitting in my class and I was in my class and my teacher, when you're a 16-year-old Muslims and the whole class is all Islamic, the Pakistani school. We used to the teacher used to give a lot of reference to Muhammad bin Qasim. And Muhammad bin Qasim was a person of the general at the age of 16. He basically conquered the subcontinent. Not the subcontinent, but Sindh. He entered Sindh at the age of 16. He defeated Raja Dahir and that's a whole different scenario, but this is how we are given reference to every 16-year-old in Pakistan, basically in the Pakistani culture, their reference is given Muhammad bin Qasim. At the age of 16, he conquered Sindh. What are you doing? That's his trip that our teacher used to put us in. So this one particular moment, one particular time, the student, I don't even remember his name, I only spoke to him the whole year, but the same scenario reference was given that at the age of 16, Muhammad bin Qasim conquered Sindh, and what are you guys doing? And that student of mine, that colleague of mine, basically stood up and said, "Man, excuse me, what I expect from that? That Muhammad bin Qasim, at the age of 16, became a general and conquered Sindh. That was not it. Look at his teachers who trained him. How did he do it? We should appreciate his teachers. We should appreciate his education system. And look at our teachers." And at that moment, I was dumbstruck and I looked at him. I was not expecting this. And I looked at the teacher. And I looked at and the teacher from that time forward never gave the reference because but it made a lot of sense that you have to look at our education system. You have to look at it, what we're producing. So years went by, I went to States, and over there I was reintroduced to Islam. And that was when I was reintroduced to Islam. That was another story I wanted to share is that I started looking at Islamic history for the first time. I had previously I was not introduced to the Islamic civilization. That era was missed. Why it was missed, how it was missed, maybe I'll share it with the other time. But here it was missed. So I started reading about Islam and I realized that the Muslims were at the center of intellectual study. We were the intellectuals of our time. We were ahead in technology. We were ahead in research. And all the balloons, second planning it, medicine and whatever. And what happened? How did we end up right now? And that question freaking me. And that was question there. And I started looking things what went wrong. So all this journey of mine basically led to this position that I think I have the answer of Islamic belief system. So make sure to join me in this journey that I've taken her. It's more of a reflective journey that how we have to apply Islamic education system and how it should be in our time. According to God. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.